What's up, guys? Today, I want to talk a little bit about the latest leak of information. And before I get into the main topic, I do want to take a second out to thank all of you guys who do take the time to pass information to me from Twitter or Facebook, wherever else you get this information. Um, so I do appreciate it. Sometimes you guys provide links and stuff. And so I do want to thank you guys. Um, this might be the only channel where people actually come to give information. Instead of, usually when people go to a channel, they go to get information. So it's kind of weird, I know, but I'm always kind of the last to find things out. I do the best I can, but I am grateful to you guys for taking the time to, pass along information, keep me up to date on what's going on, and that's how I know about this leak. Elite Killer sent me a link, thanks. And also IDK Player did a video today, and he got into some detail about it. He's done a very good job of looking at screenshots and actually dissecting it, taking a magnifying glass and just really looking at it. Things that kind of skip by. And if you're not really paying attention or looking for little tiny clues, you'll miss. So thank you guys. And so without further ado, I'm just going to get right to the topic. Now, this leak seems to have come from somebody unrelated to 704. This wasn't like information that they doled out. So somehow this thing was leaked. And what it is that there's a screenshot of a driver and there's some text where you are responding to them. And you have choices on how to talk to these drivers. You can be complimentary and positive, or you can be negative and say something, maybe an insult or something. And it seems to be a part of the rival system. So underneath the driver, you see that it's neutral. So obviously, he's not a rival or a friend or anything. And then there's a set of bars underneath, and there's it goes from red to green, which obviously I guess it would be from rival to friend or whatever. So it's pretty obvious this is related to the rival system. So I like, this is another detail that they threw into the game that, this is what I've been asking for. You need to start focusing more on the smaller details and presentation. These are the things that have been sorely lacking in NASCAR games, even not just 704, but going all the way to 2011 with Eutechnics. All of these NASCAR games have been so bare bones and lacking in presentation. So they are really paying attention and they're listening to us. So that's really good. This is, any details they can add to the game is good. Now, I don't know how it's going to work. There's questions about it there. I'm hoping that as a player, you have the opportunity at any time, when you're not in a race, to contact any driver and talk to them or whatever. I hope it's not just limited to someone contacting you. Now, you're at the mercy, in other words, you can't contact them, but they can contact you, and that's the only time you can respond. I hope that you do have the ability to go to any driver or multiple drivers and, talk to them after a race. The other thing is the rivalry system from last year. I did like that it's in the game, and for me, I took extra care in the way I drove. I tried to avoid contact as much as I could, and that gave a bit of more of an extra challenge to the racing, because it's one thing to get to the front and just smash your way through. Anybody can do that. But to get to the front and race clean and try to avoid contact with people, that makes it more challenging. And that's what I always liked about this rivalry system. So I always try to keep drivers from becoming a rival, because when they did become a rival, it became a problem. So that's a good thing, actually. The problem I had with it is that it's overdone. And once somebody became a full-blown rival, anytime you were near them, they tried to wreck you. That's where I have an issue with the system and with last year's system, and it ruined races, especially if you were at a restrictor plate track and you're trying to get to the front and you got a bunch of rivals ahead of you. You're next to other cars all the time. So anytime you got next to a rival, they would just dump you into the underneath the apron and you would spin out. And this would go on and on for the whole race. That's not realistic. And in real life, if a driver has a problem with you, they're going to race you tough. They're not going to cut you any slack and give you room to pass. They might try stuff like that. And even if they make contact with you, it'll be a one-time thing. And they're kind of like, okay, they got it out their system. They let you know they're not happy with you, and you move on. You don't have the same driver every time you're near them try to wreck you in the same race. That's not realistic, and they would get black flagged. It's just that to me is what's overdone, and it can go from something that's interesting to just something that's a pain in the ass, and that's for me where they needed to focus on and toning down when they're a rival. Maybe they can make contact with you once, maybe twice, and that's it for that one race. Now that probably takes some programming and coding time that they probably didn't have because they were focused so much on adding this extra series and stuff, which is why I was concerned with this added extra series, that it would take time and resources away from focusing on other aspects of the game like this. But the decision was made, and they went forward with adding the series. So I don't want to harp on that, and it is, there's positives to it. I do think it's going to add something to the game, so I'm excited about it. But that was one of my concerns. So early on, that's why I did a video talking about that. But moving on from that, I don't think they had the time to really dig into the actual programming of the AI and the rivalry system. So I think that this leak shows they probably chose this path to give you an opportunity to help tone down a rival or even insult them and create a rival. Why you want to create rivals, it's beyond me. It would be different if the presentation went deep in the game and you actually had confrontations. Like in the old EA games, you actually had drivers, having a shoving match in the garage area after a race. I love stuff like that. Those are the type of things missing from today's games. We're not going to get that this year. I can promise you that. But I do want to see that down the line. And that's what I'm hoping to see. Now, this leak is very interesting. I am happy. This is more detail. This is an attempt to add more presentation to the game. My one critique, and this not only goes for this particular leak, the communicating with the drivers, but just overall in the game when they talked about stories. Really, that's presentation. When they talked about, before the race starts, and if somebody gets sent to the back for a violation, or it talks about drivers having a good weekend and stuff like that. I love all that stuff, and that's what we need to have. But that stuff, along with this leak, it's all text. Now, it's a good step forward, but like most of the stuff in this series, it's baby steps. And I think it's the third game in the series. I would have liked them to be a lot further along. I'm not really complaining. I'm just putting out a legitimate critique. We used to get stuff a lot more advanced than this 15 years ago. So I think it's fair to mention that. But I am excited about this game, and this leak is it's exciting. It's something I didn't expect. So it's good stuff. And I am excited about this game. And I do all of these little details, it adds to the excitement. Okay? But I do want them to get to a point where we can finally knock NASCAR Thunder 2004, which in my opinion is the best NASCAR game ever made on a console. I'm not talking about, NASCAR 2003, the season, the PC game. That's a simulator and it's a PC game. I don't really include that in these discussions. I know how great that game was, but it's a simulator and it was for PC, and I don't think it's fair. I do think it's kind of an apples and orange comparison. So for me, the best NASCAR games on consoles, it's the 2004 Thunder game, and Dirt to Daytona is in that conversation as well. But if I had to pick one, who's at the top? It's 2004. NASCAR Thunder 2004, and there's a lot of reasons for that, and I'm not going to talk about that now. But I am planning to do a prediction video, maybe a week or two before the release date of this game. For those of you who haven't really followed me long, I do prediction videos before a game comes out. Especially, at least I've done that for the last few NASCAR games, and I like to do that because I put forth my opinion on what this game's going to turn out to be. I talk about it, and then when the game comes out, I like to see, what I got right, what I got wrong. I just find that interesting, and I think people enjoy that. So I am going to do that again this year, but it'll probably be a week or 2 weeks before the actual release of the game, depending on how much information 704 releases and how much we know overall. Right now, it's too early, and all we have is a trailer and just a few questions answered on Twitter by Sean Wilson. So, I'm assuming we are going to get more information by then. So those are the plans. But right now, I like what I'm seeing. And this latest leak, it's exciting, and it's more detail. It's another step in the right direction. So I am pretty excited about it. I'm curious to see how it works. And I'm hoping that it's not just talking to drivers who contact you after a race. Because I think it would be cool if I can contact any of the drivers anytime. So I'm curious. Hopefully they talk about it. I'm sure they will at some point. But unfortunately, right now, all we have are these little drips of information. Some of it's not even coming directly from 704. This was an actual leak. So those are my thoughts on that. And thanks again for keeping me posted on what's going on. And what do you guys think? I look forward to your comments.